Okay, go for it.
Thank you. I would like to welcome everyone to the January 12th meeting of the Trustees of the Hoag Library. All workers, the dwellers, and any Jim Gadfly, Sylvie Grace, Debbie, Kevin,
Here.
Now, the agenda that we have before you, there's going to be a couple of additions and a lot of things you're going to have at your place. Under the finance committee, the addition will be, we have two printouts. One is regarding credit cards, and the other is regarding the line of credit resolution. And then you have a letter at your place regarding accounting services. So those are the additions to the agenda. Anyone else have any other additions to the agenda?
It would be appropriate to acknowledge Demetrius's resignation. However, you could also do that in the next meeting. It's entirely up to you.
I'll let you go ahead.
I would guess that would be a new business item. Because we don't have new business, I'm sorry.
We do have it. We do.
Okay.
Oh, and, okay, so question. So under new business, I have a letter to share with you from Hoag. I have a question about recording meetings and the resignation of Davis.
With those additions, I would move the agenda.
Do we have a second? All in favor? Thank you. Public forum opportunity?
You have an opportunity to speak if you like. Anybody?
Thank you. We have the review and potential adoption of the minutes from our regular meeting held on November 10th. Noted that we did not have a December meeting. Are there any additions or changes? No, she made
But I have written them down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So,
You're
it
going
was
to
just,
discuss it?
it was a believe it or not, and on a number, the resolution on the finance. The one for, I think it's 14,000, but it was, without the comment, it looks like
Oh, for the
44,670. Yeah.
All right, so it's put a comma,
Let me put a comment in there.
and the second motion, community banking note, 44,000, comma, 670.
Right. And, was,
Megan,
Oh.
you put like some little amounts of saying, either take out the zeros. Yeah, so make it whole, you know what I mean? Yep. Thank you. You can make that, make it 28,000, okay, however you're gonna do it. Just remove the zeros off the.
I'll do, so then I've changed both of them are originally one.
Yes.
So add the comma and take out.
This one's staying the same. This one's added a comma and take out the zeros.
so, this is not the meeting where we split the money from, Smith Barney, is it?
We probably did that in October because we would have deposited the money
Yes.
in.
So we did it in the October one.
We did it in October, okay. Okay. Well, we paid it off at the end of November, or we paid it off at the end of December.
I'm sorry,
Because
pay off.
I didn't remember seeing it in,
The mortgage,
yeah,
I know it is paid off.
it's paid off, but,
I think, it was paid off in November, but after our meeting, because there was
okay.
The 4 days interest or whatever it was from the time the
Yes.
payment was made, we just needed to catch up and do the rest of it.
Okay, so tonight, when we do it, we'll find out what the, so it's recorded, what the exact amount is when we get to
Okay.
that part.
So, we want. So under items to be added to the next agenda, we want to pay,
Final payout amount, so it's recorded.
so I think we got that under the items to be added to the next agenda, final payoff of the mortgage.
So it's recorded in our meeting.
And date.
And date.
The suggestion is just that, and we've taken note of that, with the 2 corrections that Joyce pointed out. I would move the minutes as, with those corrections.
Do we have a second? Debbie?
I have one other thing,
Good.
not on this resolution.
All in favor? Thank you.
Just if the secretary could make a note on the minutes for this meeting, that there wasn't a December meeting, so that somebody 20 years down the road doesn't say, what happened in
So
December?
where it says, minutes from the regular meeting held on November 20th, just add something there.
Yes, but, so we're gonna add to this agenda, no meeting held. Okay. In December 2021. Okay. So on the minutes from the regular meeting held on November 10th, we're gonna add no meeting held in December 2020. Any other corrections?
No, that's
Okay.
the only other suggestion I have.
All right, we'll wait for executive session.
I'm sorry, who seconded that? I did miss that.
Okay.
You guys all have a chance to read the director's report. Do we have any questions? And I know if it helps.
Oh, my golly, that's my next page, here we are. Well, I would like to update a couple things a little further, on the EV chargers, the ever-going EV chargers. I have still not gotten the final word from NYSERDA, although all of the paperwork has been submitted. I have gone back to EV Charge Solutions, and he's going, let me see what I can do. I've also spoken down to Steve Hawley's office, and been told, put it in writing, and if we aren't satisfied and don't get this money soon, he may see if he can get things moving for us. The other thing that I had totally forgotten about until the audit started Monday is that we were granted a grant from National Grid to the tune of $6,000, it was either $6,398 or $6,938. But if you'll recall, the total cost of those chargers was totally covered because it was $18,000 and $6,000. And all of a sudden, when they said, have you gotten that money? I went, I don't think so. So I did, since this was written, I had contacted National Grid. I keep wanting to say Niagara Law, I struggle with that. And the woman says, oh yeah, I can see you've got everything here. She said, I'll send you one more paper, sign it, send it back, and we'll send you your money. So that one should be all taken care of really soon, and I was pleased to see that. Website, Debbie, I know you volunteered to look at it. They've been out of town. They literally are living in Albany right now because the wife is going to law school. But they were home over vacation, and we'll keep working. up and I'll mention them at that point.
You want to mention them later?
Yeah, because they'll come up on the committee.
Okay.
I don't even remember now what else it was.
Does anyone have any questions for the director about the report? Thank you for putting that together. Reports and requests from committees. We're on to the finance committee. We have to approve and accept the transfer of funds from Smith Barney to Five Star Bank in the amount of $28,000 for payroll expenses.
Put a comment in there.
That's a committee recommendation, so it doesn't need a second.
All in favor? Thank you. Also, under finance committee,
So we're still, even though we've given, Community Bank, we're still transferring money monthly into Community Bank. Built to Five Star. So
That is correct, and I think,
that's Five Star.
so one of the purposes of
That's
the page from the committee is to kind of clean that up.
yes. So, I think the first thing we'll go over, in addition to the agenda, is the credit card. You should all have a sheet at your table, the credit card. I know that, finance committee,
All right, the two that I mailed out today, or that I emailed out today, the credit card one and the line of credit one, which are separate sheets and should also be printed and at the table, those are not committee recommendations. They would have been if we had the information prior to our meeting. But, for example, the line of credit one came up today, or yesterday, when the auditor said, this is not the correct form. And the credit card one, the current credit card, the one and only credit card that the library has, is a Bank of America credit card in Barb's name. So, those were two different things. I am proposing those, but they're not committee. So the treasurer is suggesting that you do these things.
so if everyone has,
So, I have a question on the credit card one,
okay.
on the, next to the bottom.
Uh-huh.
Because part of the board's responsibility is fiduciary, and it's not restricted just to, the finance committee, I would like to have added, where it says, paper copies of the monthly transaction shall be made regularly available to the treasurer, director, and finance committee, and board as needed, which means the board may not always want to look at it, but if we have a problem, we should have as much right to look at it as the finance committee, since part of our responsibility as a board is fiduciary.
You get that, and that information is certainly always available to you. The question is whether or not we are going to have the bank send paper copies to everybody. And because we have this, we can get this information online in a second, any time, but in terms of auditability, we need to have one of us sign, just initial it, just like we do with the bank statements. So I'm not suggesting that we print the credit card for everybody, although everybody has access to it.
That's not what I said. I said, and board as needed. So if there's not a problem, the board's not going to be
So
asking.
you want
for
a
help.
trustee to be able to come
Yeah,
in and look at
I want trustees, if there's an issue or concern, anyone that's a board member should be able to do that.
And do you believe that you do not have that right now?
I believe that it's not written there.
So how about we take out online portal that paper copies of monthly transactions shall be made regularly available to the trustees,
I like that.
and take out all the rest.
That sounds great.
I don't know, the director and trustees.
Yes,
I mean, really, it's a job of the finance committee.
right.
And director, but
Anything that has to do with money is all of our responsibility.
but we could ask for a copy of that to be put in our folders every month.
Well, of course you could.
Because.
Don't say no, you
That's
can't.
not what I'm saying.
I know, but I mean,
Yes,
we could just request that, and that way we could look at it with our board reports.
that sounds great.
So why don't we just put that,
I know that there's,
I like the abbreviated form that you did. It takes out any, guess what they need, the committee that needs to have it.
okay, so what, how do you,
Okay, so community bank, NA, so shall be accessible through community bank NA online portal.
the paper copies of the monthly transactions should be made regularly.
So online, shall be accessible through the community bank NA online portal for director.
No, so what we put, the account should be accessible to the community bank online portal.
Okay.
That paper copies can be available, or shall be made available to the treasurer, director,
Finance
The-
committee
or
and trustees when requested,
Or
or trustees
yeah,
when needed,
Upon request.
upon request.
upon request.
Yeah.
So, and finance committee and trustees upon request, and then do they get it further as well? So, take it right in
So
after.
it should be, the paper copies shall be made available to the treasurer, director, and finance committee or trustees upon request. And be it further,
Okay. Thanks.
you have all
Yeah, because I had a digital copy of this, I can just copy it in there, so that makes it.
that is an amendment which the proposer is not considering a friendly amendment, so it has to be an amendment that's proposed and voted on.
well, since it didn't come from the committee, it has to be voted on anyhow.
Yes, but the vote is on the motion. You are changing my motion. To do that, you have to amend it. I can say, yes, I think that's a good idea for clarification.
If it came from a committee, then I would have, but since the committee wasn't able to meet,
Then this is a resolution that I have proposed, and you cannot change that unless I agree to the change or you amend my
Are you a
motion.
committee of one?
I'm the treasurer,
Yeah, but
and I'm saying that what you're doing is mucking this up. So I don't agree to it. So if you want to make a motion to amend, you can certainly do that. Get a motion to amend in the right verbiage, and a second, and a positive vote of 5.
Debbie, you're on the committee. What do you say?
If you want my personal opinion, I don't, because you said if there's any issues, well, there wouldn't be any issue that you would know about unless you were on the committee. And then we would have brought it to the board, right?
Unless you're a committee of one.
But you're not.
Yeah, but see, he just said, this is his resolution and we're mucking it up. And I'm saying that
he was saying
everyone
that,
that has a fiduciary responsibility, there's no mucking it up. We're just trying to make sure that we all understand around this table that whatever we do in regards to finances is all of our responsibility. Yes, our committee brings us recommendations, but we have a responsibility to make sure that it's a reflection of all of us. And I know I'm acting squarely, and I'm real touchy when it comes to such large sums of money. I'm not talking about $50 here or $25 from my personal checking account. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars that affects people's lives and livelihood that they're dependent upon for their salary. So if I seem a little anxious and picky, it's because we are not talking about pennies.
in my
So-
personal opinion, I thought the resolution was fine the way it was. Because
Yeah.
any trustee could get the information as needed. There's- I don't have a problem, this is a credit card limit. And if, to be honest, if the treasurer, director, and finance committee are all doing their job, we're all overseers that then bring it to the board and we review, I don't have a problem with it the way it was written, but I was just trying to come up with a resolution to make everyone happy. So,
Just bring it to a vote.
It is certainly within Joyce's purview to make that motion to amend. I'm not saying that that's not the case, but it's not a friendly amendment. So it doesn't just,
so Mrs. Harley, what you missed, in front of you is a credit card, okay? And the way it was written, Mrs. Riley wanted the trustees to be added on to the fourth paragraph down, sorry. We kind of came up with a verbiage of, community bank online portal, the paper copies shall be made available to the treasurer, director, and finance committee or trustees upon request, and be it further developed. So that's the, yes.
hearing no amendment proposed, I move the question.
Anyone? We didn't make an amendment to it, which, Mrs. Harley, you were out. And then, Mr. Dory, if you want to state how you, so the finance committee was not able to meet. Auditors came in, that's how the credit card policy got written. Mr. Doherty, as treasurer, came up with this, and that's what we're at right now.
Yes.
So we either make a motion to amend it or make a motion to accept it as is. That's where we stand.
Would it make sense, I mean, does this have to be at this meeting, or could this be, we can set this aside and hold
It's
until the
entirely up
finance
to you, but Barb's leaving at the end of the month. We cannot use a credit card in her name. And it just seemed to be a convenient time to get one more bank where we only have one account, the credit card, bring it all back so that it's within.
I'm saying that way the finance committee could meet, and then it would be a finance committee proposal.
It's totally up to you.
Can I, could we just say, and board of trustees upon request instead of, I mean, is that basically what the question, the issue is? Because we add too much here.
So-
To me, if you're saying anything about board of trustees, it needs to be board of trustees as a group. I don't think one individual board member should have the ability to only ask for it on their own. And I'm not sure what purpose you would have for doing that anyway. So if there's going to be any amendment, I think it would have to be the trustees as a whole. But I'm not even sure if that's necessary. I mean, I'm assuming that we would see these anyway in the regular financial statements, right?
A credit card bill, the current one with Bank of America, or either one of these new ones, they cannot be paid until Betty Sue approves it and an officer signs for it. But one of the three signatory officers sign for it. Yes, could there be a conspiracy where the bookkeeper, the director, the treasurer, and somebody else decided to take the credit? Yes, but who would do that for a $5,000 credit card? That is why we put the limit on it, so that you couldn't buy any public or and then skip town. And of course, from the school district perspective, you've heard those stories because that's happened.
Right.
So it's.
When I approve a bill, when it comes in, Barb has taken every item that is listed on the credit card and matched it up with the corresponding sales receipt. And each item is check marked off before she brings me the bill to sign. And if they don't match, I'm not signing it. So that's your first line.
All I was gonna say is, you know, we've got this committee set up for a reason, you know, I mean, I'm not mucking around in buildings and grounds, you know, so I'm allowing them to do their job, just like the finance committee is doing their job, and if we
the finance committee will take it, bring it back to the next meeting. There isn't anything mission.
But I think you're saying you need it sooner than that, if
Well,
someone is going to.
It's whatever you,
I'm willing to make a motion to pass it as is.
Yeah. You have to have a credit card as of the 28th of January.
Right.
So it needs to be.
right, so,
It needs to be done.
So you made a motion and you seconded it, okay.
I feel, like you said, that as a board of trustees, we're supposed to be flying up here and looking at things and trusting that the people that we put in place are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and if we don't trust that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and that everything's above board, then that's a problem. But I don't, that's not our job to look at every individual thing that happens.
You know, but for nothing, I agree with what you're saying. But you're also saying that anything that comes and is brought into this meeting, no one should ever question. And that's
Oh,
where
no, I'm not saying that.
that's where I draw the line. If I cannot feel that this means that because you brought it to me, yes, I like to think that every committee is doing their job. But also, we know that sometimes things fall apart, and when they fall apart, you need the right to ask a question, or even if, just like decisions were made without the committee being able to meet, it may be that someone saw something and you weren't meeting, and a board member came in and said, you know, I saw this on such and such and such, can you pull up so-and-so and let me take a look at it? Now you're saying that no one should be able to do that if they see something that they want to question, and it might be
I don't
something.
think individual board members should be.
No,
I think you should, if you have a concern, it should go to the president or the director, and then have them handle it how they see fit. I don't think individual board members should be doing investigation on their own. I really don't.
that actually
And I
is
don't-
not what, I recognize.
so don't ask questions.
No. I recognize where you're coming from the school board perspective, because that's drugged into there. Our past practice, right, wrong, or indifferent, has been that anybody who could foil a document, that's anybody in our service area, and therefore any trustee, because they're all obviously members of the service area, can ask for something in a reasonable manner. Nobody can walk in and say, can you print me a copy of every check the library has written since 1952? No, that's just not going to happen. But since most of our financial reports are posted anyway, if somebody says, hey, I saw a giant Amazon truck drive off 3 big things, what were they? Nobody's going to say, well, you have to call Linda or you have to call Betty Sue.
So is this something that can be foiled or not?
Absolutely.
So a board member could come in and foil the credit card.
Yes, except we make it even easier than that. Because you can foil it, we don't make the trustees do that. And some of our other funders. Every once in a while, school has a question about why. And we don't make a big issue. That's been a past practice. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, the Green Book, because it's designed for municipal libraries, is real big. You don't give anybody any information anyway, unless an attorney tells you that it's okay. We're a little bit looser.
Yeah, I'm definitely not used to that. And I'm not sure that I'm not.
That is something that we could refer to committee or have a work session on, about how accessible our information is and what the process is. Because, I mean, Betty Sue will tell you, and it was that way when Susan was here, and when Teresa's mom was running the office, that pretty much if you asked, they would give you the information. Because we were trying to be good, responsible fiduciaries.
Okay, so, with all of that, we have a motion. Yeah, we have a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Next.
The second item, and I hope not to break it, I mean, have it be as contentious, is we have talked about the line of credit that we have with Community Bank that was originally student trust. We adopted a resolution a couple of months ago to say that we would drop it down to $100,000 in the same terms and conditions, which of course is not the way auditors talk. So this is the suggestion. We don't have to do that. Unlike the credit card, we don't draw on the line of credit very often. So if you want to do this differently, we can do this differently.
Let's move this to the finance committee.
Okay?
I think in that way, everyone will have a chance to review it a little more. Do you have any thoughts? Anyone?
Can I ask a question? I know when Fred goes to committee meetings at county, there are certain departments, just like here, we have committees, but he's allowed to attend any committee, any, whatever. So if somebody here really wanted to know what was going on at a finance committee meeting or a building and grounds committee meeting, as long as that is, everybody knows that it's taking place, are other members allowed to attend?
Is there an issue of quorum though? Is that?
Yes.
is that-
Yes, you would have to be careful of that, yeah.
But committee meetings are an open meeting, so they are open to anybody from the public who says, I want to be part of your next, or I want to observe your next buildings and grounds committee, or your next finance committee.
So as long as it is advertised, put on the board, like we do for our committee meetings, and that they are open, people can come and be part of it.
That is correct.
So maybe that's
A
not.
committee, just like the trustees, can have an executive session in excuse of something, but only for those for the 6 things that, so how many buildings and grounds things are we going to have that are the employment of a specific individual at a specific rate? That's not. So it doesn't happen very often in committee meetings. But the rules are pretty much the same. The open meetings rules are the same.
And we do, the only problem that I foresee with not adopting the decrease in the line of credit is that I have to get that document back to the bank. And that's, what? It has to come back to the bank. It was already approved. When I sent the meeting minutes to Hans, our banker, it was so convoluted in there that he's like, this isn't going to fly. I have to have it in a resolution form. So this afternoon, I sent him this document and said, if this is approved, does this work for the item that was passed in November? And he said back, yes. So that would be the reason that this should be done, because it also has to go to our auditors, and they want it before the end of the week.
So both of these items came up because of auditors.
Because of the auditors, which means our auditors do a good job of making sure that we do what we're supposed to do here. So, if,
So this is just put into clear writing what we already as a board approved.
correct.
We had a line of credit, it was $400,000. The security interest on that was the building, because it was the same as the first mortgage, which we paid off. We could continue to have a $400,000 line of credit, but we'd have to pledge the building, and that makes no sense. So what are we looking to cover, since we have no, or very few unrestricted reserves? Some catastrophe that happens, the boiler blows up, something like that, for which there may or may not be insurance reimbursement, but we just have to have the money to do that. Or, in the case that something happens at the school district, maybe it's COVID again, and the people who actually write the checks can't write the checks until November. I mean, there are things that could come up.
Right.
So we've already talked about reducing it to $100,000. And I thought we had agreed on that. But we did not agree in a form and format
Okay,
that made sense.
so that being said, make a motion to approve this resolution, which just clarifies. Mrs. Petrini, we have a second. Second. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Sue, and Kevin, for the auditors today.
Now, there are also 6 items from the committee, which went out in Linda's pre-read. It's a 1-page. It says Joint Finance Committee meeting. Betty Sue and I met here. Debbie was on the phone. First item is the budget, and the numbers are just as they are on the budget that was presented. It's, I'm sorry? Yes. The budget is $674,254. It is the proposed budget bottom line at both the top for income and the bottom for expenses. And then the school district levy, and this is the important part, because we have to do that in a timely manner, is $648,000. I will just point out to you that last year, the school district ask was $724,000, and the difference is we're not making a mortgage, principal, or interest payment in 2022. That's why it's going down. Because the budget itself is going down so much, we're not in tax cap territory, but Benny Sue needs the final number to plug it into the state website.
Okay, so on this recommended adoption of budget, we now, say it slowly so Maggie can record it.
I think she has a copy.
You have it? You want to say it out loud anyway?
607, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, she can do it, so she can tell you that she has it.
Did you want me to read out the numbers or just the whole thing?
Recommended adoption of budget.
Okay, recommend adoption of the budget in the amount of $674,254. With a tax levy of $648,954. Direct that the appropriate letter be forwarded to the school district clerk with copies to the superintendent and the board president.
Thank you.
So the committee moves that doesn't require a second. Is there discussion on the budget? This is not a surprise number, this is what we've been talking about.
Is there any issue with Linda or I voting on this?
Say that again?
Is there any issue with Linda or I voting on this?
No. And the reason is, you really don't have a choice where you're wearing the school board hat. If we tell you it's $1.98, if we tell you it's $450 million, your only choice is to put it on the ballot as we've done. So because there's no cross decision making,
Right.
there's no conflict.
Okay. So all in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Item two, as we did earlier, we transfer money into a separate bank account so that we can make payroll. The suggestion has been that we consolidate, that we pay payroll from the community bank operating account, since everybody is direct deposit. It doesn't make any difference where your money comes from. It's paycheck still deposits it wherever you want it deposited.
And this just takes out the motion that you make every meeting. So, with that recommendation, does anyone have any questions?
So my question is, we're getting rid of 5-star.
The intent is to maintain 5-star because we need a local account in which to put the fax fees. Checks, we can electronically deposit into community bank, but the closest community bank is Warsaw. So to collect up all the faxes and that sort of stuff, the dollars and the 50 cents, we deposit those down to the town.
So community bank will now will pay out of community bank payroll and operating expenses.
That is correct.
This
And
simplifies
just-
the accounting.
Just for the sake of clarity. So once that happens, is the intent to keep Smith Barney or get rid of them and put everything in one account?
There is no future intent in this resolution. This year, we split our money between Community Bank and Smith Farm. The number 3 addresses that. So we're doing these one at a time. I don't want to close the Smith, or the Morgan Stanley Smith Farm until we have a replacement for it. But we can't get a replacement for it until we adopt the new investment policy, which is farther on down the page. So for right now, so one at a time, we're just recommending that we move our payables and our payroll all to one account. That's a committee recommendation. Are there any questions?
All in favor? Opposed? Abstained, you vote?
I didn't.
Basically, every month we have to make a motion to move money. This just simplifies it, so the money's in one account. So that we don't have to make those motions every month. The money's just in one account for payroll and major expenses. We'll still keep the local bank for all the small things. Basically what it is, so we don't have to make the motion. And with Mrs. Kyle leaving and we have a new person or service or whatever come in, it just simplifies the accounting process.
Okay.
So would you like to vote? Thank you.
Okay, number 3 is exactly what Joyce just mentioned, as the recommendation, and this is a recommendation for this year only. When we spend out the half of the money that we put in community bank, we're going to need to put some more money in to pay the bills and to pay payroll. So we are suggesting that we make a monthly draw from Morgan Stanley, where we're earning a little, but not very much, so that we can make those regular expenses. We're not going to move it en masse, we're going to move it as we need it. So if we have the chance to make some money, as the stock market is higher than it's ever been, we can do that.
So Diana, we have Smith Barney and community and 5-star. So with the last resolution, we took the money out of 5-star, we're just gonna keep it in community to pay payroll. This is saying that we have money that we put in Smith Barney, and if we need it, at those times, we're gonna have to make a motion to move the money from Smith Barney into community.
That is correct.
So. Okay. All in favor? Or do we have any questions?
You don't need
Okay.
Item number 4, we have been nicked on the audit for 2 years because our investment policy is not current and it's not effective. We have copies of that if you want, of what we have now. It really doesn't make any difference at this moment, because we're not going to make it anymore. However, the intent is that we should make money. We get a $650,000 check from the school district, we should be able to do something with that. But before we can interview those people who might do something more for us than Smith Barney, we need to re-establish our investment policy. You will notice that it's pretty wide open. And it's done that way on purpose. There were some concerns in, must have been the early 2000s, about micromanaging the investment manager's work. And at one time, our policy said if you earned this much in a month, you had to do something. If you didn't earn enough money in a month, you had to do something. It was pages and pages. So then we adopted the one that is currently in our book, section 4.1. The suggestion is that we replace just that section, but I'm suggesting that we lay out what we wanted to do and let the attorney actually write the policy as he is currently doing the policy update. There's no sense in us doing something, adopting the policy, and then have him change it because we're out of fiduciary guidelines, for example. We also were going to ask the accountant. When I talked to Jonathan, he said, I'll do anything you want, but that's not the kind of advice that we give you. We can tell you when you're out of compliance, we can tell you when you're not matching the law, but that's actually a lawyer thing. And we didn't pay for that. It was a conversation, it was not a billable thing.
So what we have is you just want to take this and this possibly be forwarded to the attorney along with their current copy, and let the attorney write up the new policy 4.1.
That is correct. From which we can then look at investment fund managers and say, what can you do for us?
Any questions?
This is not an actual policy change. This is the outline, the bullet points to give to the guys who write the policy.
Okay. Everybody knows, I guess, probably stick up behind, but I guess from my perspective, because I'm not a CPA and I'm not a financial manager, I would have appreciated having a representative from Smith Barney Community Bank coming in and talking to us about what they do, so that at least I have a better understanding and I'm not such a contrarian amongst my peers here. Because quite frankly, I don't think there's anyone around this table that's a CPA. I know I'm not. And I need information, and I want information coming from the people that are handling the money, so that when I make a decision and I raise my hand, I know exactly what I'm raising my hand for. And right now, I don't know, not because I don't really agree, it's just that I want to make sure that I'm hearing from the people who are actually doing it. So for me, this policy can wait until somebody is here to answer basic questions so that we all understand. And when the committee comes to us with stuff, we know that I would feel, I'm just speaking for myself. Because, I've already expressed my concern. We can vote on it, you can do whatever you want, I will participate and do whatever I feel that I need to do. But that's my concern, that this is not something that needs to be done before the board gets information from these people who are currently handling our money.
So Mrs. Red, this is just something to be forwarded to the attorney, so when he looks at our current financial policy, he can kind of mend them all together, and then we will get that as a board, and we will have to look at it and approve it as a board. And if we,
I still do have no information. I hear what you're saying about this, but I still would like to have,
if we go
bring it to a
to,
vote, do what you gotta do.
if we use a financial advisor or something like that, I would expect them to come in and address the board. That is the expectation that they would do so. This is just putting words in place so we can move forward with the policy. This, it has nothing to do with, we're gonna be changing something. This is like, hey, we'll send this to the attorney will look at number 4 and look at our financial policy, and he'll have some extra verbiage to go off.
Like I said, just put it
Can I say something? Or can't you talk?
Huh?
Can I say something? As a taxpayer and employee here, I don't understand, we're in Albion, we're in Orleans County, why don't we use the banks that are here? Why do we have to go to Warsaw, to a different county? Why can't we patronize the things that are here?
I will answer that quickly. This is out of the norm of a meeting. The bank that's in Warsaw, Community Bank, is the one that gave us a mortgage.
I
And
understand
gave
that.
us a line of credit. So for us to maintain a line of credit, because the building is paid off, if we were to try and gather a line of credit from Five Star Bank, they would want something. They would want the building as collateral, or us to take out money as collateral, and the paperwork to do all that again. And since we have paid off the mortgage, with Community Bank, and we already have the line of credit, so all of that is in place. As a measure of good faith, which we did in October, we put some money in that account to keep that line of credit. So that's why we have the account with Community Bank, because in good faith, they're giving us $100,000 line of credit. They don't have any say of the building, but they can come in if we didn't pay and take all the tables and chairs.
But we don't know that Five Star wouldn't do the same.
Five Star, either one of the local banks will do that, but they will start with the.
They'll want just what community want. They want a chunk of the money sitting in their account so that they can.
You are
get something
absolutely
out.
right.
Which we would have, why wouldn't we do it for our county?
One of the reasons it's expensive to change banks is that when you reestablish a line of credit with a new bank, you pay the origination points, just like you do on a mortgage. We've already paid the origination points to the community bank. They're not whacking us anything for that. There are application fees. Some things they can be waived, but some things, as the decision-making has moved farther and farther from Albion, they cannot waive, no matter what.
So this could be something that if in future things, later this year, the finance committee could reach out to Five Star Bank and see what they might have to offer and what they could do and how much it would cost to possibly have the line of credit. There's no saying that this is an end-all be-all. This is, let's get through this now so we can move forward and so we can pay our bills in a simpler process for a county with a bank that already currently has a line of credit, and that's where we stand.
There's no contract or anything that says we have to stay there.
No,
It's something that they can look at in the future.
it's just like if you take out a home mortgage
Right.
and you refinance it, this can do the same thing. The other thing I was going to say, I had a Zoom meeting today with Nioga, and they were looking for topics that boards might want to discuss. And maybe this is something you would like me to send to Nioga, that this board would be interested in information about, investing in financial services and things like that. Because they're looking to provide us with information that we want. So they talked us, what does anybody want to know about? Maybe we want to talk about how should a library go about having reserve funds and whatever. And what they often do is they will find their experts who they will bring in and discuss from there. So I'd be happy to put that out to them and see if they can provide any information.
Sounds good.
Okay, with all that, the finance committee, in its report from January 6th, just recommends the following bullet points reported to the attorney to be incorporated by the attorney into our current policy, and which the board will completely and fully review any changes made to the policy. All in favor? Opposed? Number 5.
You just touched on that, and we do not have a definitive report back from the attorney yet on reserve funds for free association libraries. So we're still working.
Recommended, number 6, recommended policy 4.2 be amended to raise the equipment purchase limit to $5,000.
It's currently $1,000. I'm not sure that there's a whole lot of anything you can buy except individual computers that are $1,000. This,
So you have a copy of the policy at your desk, it's on
this in no way changes the individual limits that we place on purchase authority for the director. But of all of them, this is one that, if we want to re-review, we can certainly do that.
Here's a little bit of background. This came up partly because we have, the microfilm reader in the local history room is so old that it no longer has parts to repair. So if someone is looking something up, that thing that they're looking at cannot be sent to a printer. And no matter, there is no way to change that. The people that they bought this one from years ago, we've been in contact with, and she thought there was one for about $5,000. Never would I make a purchase without going through letting people know, but if that was one of those drop dead, this is great deal, I want to be able to do that and then come back to the board with it. But it's equipment, it's nothing else in my responsibility.
Have any comments you heard in the meeting that was not?
No, I really don't. I'm still learning.
But you asked good questions, and that's helpful to me.
So are we looking for a motion on this to amend?
Yes.
I make any motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Sorry, that one, you got,
Yeah,
It does.
Because
Even though. Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, you said yes.
the ruling of the chair is,
Yes.
I'm sorry, who seconded that?
I think it was all from the minutes.
yes,
Well, the history of the hate conversation,
So we have,
but not,
We have,
any,
the cleaning thing.
Which I included the contract in my report.
so,
There were two. There were two people, companies that came in and looking at the two different ones, what was the lady's name?
The affluent trust
Yeah, they were the ones who did seed surgery, right?
fund.
Yeah, not the basement. Just looking at reviews that were on there and looking at the cost and what they're giving us. So we went with, yeah, we told them to sing the rest of the cost. And then we also had, the retirement. Retirement of our, and whether or not we're going to, what we're going to do with.
right, of the insurance, yeah.
That's what
And I have to say that we did this by phone. I think two of us were in cars. And everybody really tossed in, and it's been so hard to me that I can't tell you how grateful I was. I'm looking at my son, taking him someplace, and going, just bear with us, bear with us. The company has started, and thus far I think we've been quite pleased. They also have this system that they, I don't know what we want to call, purify the air or do something. And they bought the machine and they tossed that in as a free service for those people for whom they clean. And they supplied all the bags and the cleaning stuff. We needed a new vacuum cleaner, even one vacuum cleaner. So,
How many different people are involved in it?
he sends two, and it's a 4-hour contract. He sends 2 people for 2 hours. He does have a variety of employees, and he has been coming in on Sundays to make sure that the job has been being done. So.
But there could be several different people in there.
There could be, yes. You know what, why don't I get the names of who he expects our employees to be? But one of the other advantages is, before, if we had somebody that couldn't do it, we couldn't find a substitute.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Oh my God, it's huge. And this way they will always have somebody for it. But maybe we do want some names of, because as we talked about before, these people are in this building when we're not here. So,
And we have video for most of the corners of the building. You might want to just take a look at a couple of nights and see,
Yep.
you know, what they're doing and what the order is and that sort of thing.
I'll check with them.
Because if you don't, if we have no, I mean, we hired a company, but how long have they been there? Are they?
Oh, he's been there a long time.
Background checks or?
Yep. He provided us with references and whatever. And he started out as a cleaner and has moved into this. And does it in a number of places. He's out of Rockport and goes both directions. And he was very amenable to providing information. Hamilton is the last name.
It's in the report.
Okay. If it's there, you've got it.
Great.
Could I ask, so the two letters, the committee has no recommendation on those, so that it's come to the board for the total decision process? Okay. Relative to the retirement, because we've done that before, we know how that works. Can you confirm that the numbers are correct? In terms of, this is the amount of leave time I have left and that sort of stuff?
Sure.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm assuming that since she's your chief cook and bottle washer, if she said it's 55 hours, it really is.
That's what I'm going with.
Any other way. That being the case, then I would move that we accept with regret the retirement of Barb Pirate after 21 years working for the library. Is that, I mean, I'm sorry, is that appropriate? I don't know that that needs any extra discussion, because as I say, people have retired before, we know how that works.
So does that, you're making that motion?
I'm making that motion if the chair decides that it's the appropriate time for it.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Now, let me
I'd
say,
say thank you to Mrs. Kaiser for all your years of work in the library on different jobs and for providing, you know, some really excellent, financial reports that we can understand, being able to.
Barb actually was one of the people who held the library together when we were having our issues with Mr. Devinger.
that being said, the Friends are going to provide a sort of going away on the 28th of January, which is Barb's last day. They're going to bring in, I don't know from where yet, bring in catered lunch for the staff and anybody else who wants to attend. I will send you an invitation. And then we will have cupcakes and balloons and whatever available in the library part as, for the rest of the afternoon for patrons who want to come in and say goodbye. So we'll let you know the details on that, but it is Friday, the 28th of January. And you can thank the Friends.
Planning, runs the library, they raised $1,200 for each, $12.42 for the chair option. I mean, it's amazing the amount of work the Friends put into their fundraisers, it's a lot of work, and, you know, we really appreciate them, the money. Obviously comes to the library and supports things that probably some of them we can't pay for with taxpayer money.
They also reward the staff on a monthly basis with something fun. It might be cookies, it might be donuts and cider in the fall. At Christmas time, they give every employee a $20 gift certificate to Subway. So, they really have been very, very good to the employees.
And that's something we cannot do as a
You cannot do.
taxpayer, because taxpayer. Items from the last meeting. Curtin Children's Library, we don't need, finance committee need.
We are, but after the last meeting, Kevin and Jim went down there and worked their hands to the bone and got the shades down so that you can't see in there. So until the recommendation is made, at least it doesn't feel like they're on a giant screen for the residents.
And we were gonna wait until after, Kurt Garber
Right.
came in, and we were gonna buy something and then have to replace it.
I just wonder what I might find something you want to do.
Yeah, it's still something we want to do, but now we're going to wait for, instead of just doing something piecemeal, we're going to wait till we can do it right.
Kind of meeting for about finance notes, buildings and grounds, discuss cleaner parking lot, marker sprinklers, items completed, personnel meeting, realities you guys have them all, I don't mind reading them. All set. Sorry about that. Budget, and at this time of new business.
Can I please ask the Building and Grounds Committee to meet? There are a number of issues that shouldn't take a whole lot of time, but at least get on the radar. One of them is about the EV chargers out there. If you read the hub and saw the letter to the editor, that the complaint that the court is in the way because it stretches across the sidewalk. We knew that, but we also needed to get those in. That was expedient to do it that way. I would like to suggest that we go around the sidewalk with an extension so that there will always be sidewalk. But I'd like the Buildings and Grounds Committee, because they may have the perfect idea. So that is you, Jim,
Put a
right?
bridge over it.
So the buildings and grounds are. Yeah, Ms. Riley.
Is it Dawn?
And Don, yes, of course.
Okay, so I'll just send out an email saying,
Me.
please meet, okay?
So I received tonight, in my folder, you guys can get folders, this is literally nothing in it. A letter from the Hoag Library System and asking the board to fill vacancies, for a trustee representing the Orleans County seat. And I can pass this around. And Mr. Dory, if you want to, because I already asked him about it when I came in, pass this down.
And I did see Gloria recently and asked her if she was interested in doing it again. I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. The one small problem I think anybody that's nominated by this library would face is the fact that Jonathan Inco, who is a representative from Medallion and is coming off, has decided he'd like to see this person from Lindenville. So he's calling all the libraries to line up their support. And I said, I don't have a problem supporting your person unless we have somebody from our library who wants. And I think last year, Gloria was not able to go to the annual meeting where they make the vote, where they do the voting, because she had a death in the family. So I think that was a real detriment for her because the other person who was up for the position was able to go around and meet and greet all the different libraries. So I don't know if she is still interested or not, but if somebody wanted to reach out and ask her, I already did it, so you'll just back that up.
I can scan that in and send it all to you again, I got that tonight. One of the things I wanted to bring up is recording the meetings now that we can have open sessions, do we still want them recorded? Just a question. Here. Are we not recording?
Well, I think I asked, because we had this discussion in November, and I asked Mike when he was here, how many people looked at the meetings, and he was down to, yes, when we were actually COVID closed, there was a lot more activity. We were down to 2 or 3 views in the month thereafter.
Any thoughts? Are we okay with ending the pre-recording, we can discuss it next month.
I'd say think about it and discuss it next month.
Okay. Do you want to put that under items to be added? Suggestion? Today, we received an email from the board on the resignation of Anitra Bennett. She stated that she was just resigning, she didn't give a reason. I would like to thank Anitra for 3 years that she served on the board. She was a valued trustee, and she will be missed.
You sent a response. I also sent a response, I did not send it to you all, I just sent it to you. So maybe somebody else has worked closely with it, they might like to.
We should, by motion resolution, accept her resignation with whatever we want to say, with regret about the
So
children.
make a motion.
Yes, I would do that. That we accept with regret the resignation of Anitra Bennett as a trustee, and hope that she will continue to volunteer and be a supporter of the library. We have an option. Unlike the school board, if you lose a member, if you diddle around it, they'll do anything. The BOCES superintendent comes in and says, here's your new member. Because the state is big on you should be full. We're going to have an election in May. If we interview people in February and we appoint them in February or March, they're incumbent for 2 months. If we were down 2 or 3 people, that would be different. It's entirely up to you. We can appoint, we can advertise, we can go around to our friends and say, who wants to do this? That's it. It's totally up, or we can say it'll just be a vacancy through until May. It does not
We
change.
can also make a resolution to reduce the board by, average board is between 5 and 9. 5 is too close in case someone can't make it.
The last time we rechartered, I think we can do 5 to 13. That would be a odd number. That would be a bylaw change. So we would have to present that to the meeting, but that's not a big deal.
But that's also an option. It's very fine. With that,
GPS cops aren't still being twisted.
yes.
With that,
I said, and your arm is still being twisted.
With that, I'm gonna make a motion, or I want to go into executive session at 8:18. Yeah, we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
All right, since there's only one item, I'm going to suggest that we cut this off and we excuse Megan, and we'll just fill in going through the last 2 lines of the minutes. These are the ones that were sent